Good morning. Here
Oh,
we are. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the No Bonds Cast. We are still here. Anything interesting going on in the world today?
plenty.
Plenty going on. Well, we're excited to have everybody with us today, whether you're tuning in right now live or listening to the replay here. I'm here, Ben Beck, with my co-host, Jim Bode. And we also have a special guest today from our Traverse City, Michigan office. Her name is Tammy Stoerkel. And I have just an interesting background story on how this all came to be, if I may, for a moment, Tammy.
Sure.
Awesome. So about 3.5 years ago or so, Jim and myself, just by happenstance, got introduced to this great guy out in Michigan. His name Brian Ursu. And at the time, Brian was looking for a successor for his great business that he built up. So Jim and I had a few conversations, great conversations, and then we finally traveled out to the great city of Traverse City, where we had an amazing experience to meet a great team. And one of those fantastic team members is now our lead financial advisor out there in the Traverse City office, giving our Michigan clients, by and large, a great amount of support and leadership and direction. And that woman is Tammy Stoerkel, who's here today to help us navigate a few questions that have come in and that might be on people's minds today. So Tammy, it's a great opportunity here to welcome you to the No Bonds Cast for the first time. And what do you say we get started?
Sure. Well, thank you for the nice introduction. And it's been an awesome fit working with all of you. So we appreciate you. Although I miss Brian and his quirkiness on a daily basis, I still talk to him often. And and he might even be tuning in. So anyways, so today we're going to talk about a few things, right? Like what
Yeah.
is in our control, what is somewhat in our control, and what is out of our control.
Mhm.
Times like
Absolutely.
these, I feel like really makes you think, it makes me think, there's so much going on and there's so much noise. How can we feel better about ourselves and what we're doing? And I feel, I start daily with prayer, but then I just focus in on what I can control.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just, we are all in this with our clients, this market volatility. So some of the things that I think about are investing consistently on a monthly basis is one of the
Mhm.
best ways. When I started investing way back in 91, that was some of the best advice I got was, pay yourself first, put a little bit away every month and
Right.
increase it as much as you can.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's a great segue maybe into um, perhaps one question that comes up a lot because Tammy, you as well as the entire firm were very planning based, right? Extremely. I mean,
definitely.
that's how we view the world. Goals first, then a plan, a blueprint, and then the investment strategy to fund that plan. So, on that same topic that you just started to open with, there's a level of uncertainty, right, to some degree all the time. And what are some strategies that clients, investors can use to perhaps diversify their income streams, diversify the buckets of money, and really help ensure financial stability over longer periods of time? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. When we're talking with our clients, we're always recommending that they have 12 months or more of savings of their monthly expenses set aside in a
Sure.
liquid savings account. Um, and then, looking at their how much they can invest monthly for their future.
Mhm.
Um, we always want their investments to um, support their goals, right? In
Mhm.
retirement or in that work optional life. Uh,
Mhm.
we want them to have streams of income. So that might be retirement accounts, it might be investment accounts that aren't retirement funds that are after tax money. So we have different streams that we can pull from when
Mhm.
needed.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
How do you help Tammy with that? Do you help identify where those funds should be going? When do you identify that? What's your role in that process?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, just for an example, I met with someone yesterday, a prospect that um, received a life insurance proceeds, and this is newfound wealth to her, and she's going through a difficult time. So for one thing, I didn't want her to make any decisions yesterday, but I wanted her to think about, what her any big expenses coming up in the next 3 to 5 years. That money should not be invested. That should be in her savings account. And then additional anything above and beyond that, what were her goals for this money? What does she see herself using this money for in the future? Then we plan for that, right? And develop. So I'm working on a goals planning statement for her so that she can see a pathway forward.
Yeah, so building on that idea of financial planning and diverse income stream, it's fascinating to me. I know it is to Jim and you, how those types of conversations and items tie into the longer term, right? And so when you're in these conversations, you just mentioned the GPS, you just mentioned having the conversation with a prospective client, whether it's life insurance proceeds or inheritance. What is it, or why is it so important to you to help clients plan for perhaps a longer than expected lifespan? Like, what kind of conversations do you have there?
Great question. Yeah, our team does a lot of financial planning, and we run our plans out to age 95. We're living longer, people are taking better care of themselves. I love watching you do your burpees every day, Ben. So we're taking better care of ourselves. We're eating better and exercising more, and we're going to live longer, most of us, in medical advancements. So when I'm talking with a client and finding out what their goals are, I want their funds to outlast them. I want them to have a comfortable retirement, and then I want them to be able to leave a legacy, whether that's to their children or to a charity that's near and dear to their heart, to make it impact. So those are things that I focus on, what is most important to them and how can we help them get there?
Yeah, you said the one word legacy, and most people, when they're thinking about their savings and living in retirement, they use that life expectancy, right? They say, okay, we're going to live at 95, and then the next question is, then what? Right? So if we're doing the proper savings throughout your working years, and we're doing the proper planning, and we're doing the proper investing, we should be able to live and take distributions out of the account so that we can leave the legacy for that next generation. And focusing on living longer, saving as long as we can, taking a reasonable amount of distributions out. At the end of the day, we're saving and planning for people to receive that distribution that might only be 5 or 6 years old today. So we're really planning for the future and a legacy down the road.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Consistency is also a theme, right? That comes up there. You mentioned the burpees, Tammy, but you also know something about me as well, which is an analogy that you use often, is the bacon and eggs analogy. I have bacon and eggs every day, but how do you use that analogy? Maybe it'd be fun to share that with clients that ties into this long-term picture, with respect to the grocery store.
Yeah. So, inflation, we see it at the store. With eggs, they've come down a little bit in price, but they're still way.
Have they?
Well, in Michigan, a little bit.
Oh, good.
They noticed the egg whites. I love to buy a carton of egg whites, and you can't find those, at least at where I shop. But how inflation can erode our lifestyle, right? And the dollars we save. So making sure that we have them invested in good strategies that outpace inflation is super important. I mean, that is going to set you up for success in the future. And even though, we're having this pullback, possibly a bear market, we don't know yet. We know it's temporary. And if we stay patient and stay invested, it will come back up. But the bacon and eggs, I like,
Mhm.
I'm at a loss for what,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry.
I think you hit it right in the head there. It's the cost of living going up every year, right? The historical average, we look at it as at least the historical trend line is about 3% per year and over long periods of time. So you mentioned it a moment ago. It's like you're eroding, right? The inflation, the cost of living going up is eroding um, your hard-earned savings every year if you don't do something about it. And whether that's um, the car that you're buying or the bacon and eggs from the grocery store that keeps going up in price over long periods of time, all of these have a factor, right, in our financial lives, in our ability to have our investments outpace, right, the rate at which our costs are going up. So that's a great point, Tammy, and really, really well done there. So it's clear to me that, and Jim, a well thought out retirement plan that's focused not on the here and now, but on the long term is truly something where we focus the vast amount of our energy because we feel it's the most important. So you mentioned volatility, you mentioned the kind of the uncertainty that we're finding today. A little bit different of a question. How can we stay focused on the long-term goals, while managing the pullbacks that we're seeing, especially what we're living through right now? What can you comment there?
Yeah, it's sometimes hard, right? Like,
Hmm.
I do not enjoy a roller coaster. And this kind of feels like a roller coaster right now, right?
Sure.
So like, or turbulence. I don't like turbulence. But I know, and we know that it will smooth out. It will eventually, the ride will be over and it'll be smooth sailing for a little while, and then it'll be another ride, right? So it's always going to be something in the future. So I've had clients, not many, but some say, should I get out and wait until all this craziness with the tariffs is over and then get back in? And absolutely not. That is the worst thing an investor can do, is get out and move to cash, lock in their losses. You need to stay invested and stay disciplined. Keep your head down. I know it's hard, but try not to listen to so much noise, just focus on what you can control and the plan that you've put in place with us so that we can help you reach your goals.
Yeah. And in your role, right? I mean, you just mentioned it. We see these downturns so much more frequently, so frequently, however temporary they are. Like, where is the financial advisor's role in that? Is the financial advisor's role to be behind the scenes and, as Jim likes to talk about, be the wizard behind the curtain, or is it something different in your eyes?
I think it's definitely empathizing with them. We are all right in the same situation with them. We're watching our account values go down with theirs, but we know they will come back up. We just have to listen, listen to their concerns and ask them, how is this current market condition going to affect your long-term goals? What's going on now? How is that going to affect our long-term strategy we've put in place together that we know is over time will be successful?
What a great question. What an absolutely great question, right? Because when I hear you say that, it's not minimizing necessarily what's going on currently right now. But it does, to me, it does adjust the focus a little bit, right? In terms of, oh, geez, you look at all the things that are going on in this temporary setback we're having. But in so many words, you're saying, hey, let's take a step back. And how does this truly affect the long-term plan, the long-term picture that we've put together, whether it's a full financial plan or our goals planning statement that we put together for everybody. Jim, you've been doing this for 20 plus years now. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, we've been through a lot of interesting, volatile times over the past 20 years. And whether it was tariffs, which is what we're dealing with right now, maybe some political turmoil, or whether it was a virus, obviously different. But Ben and I and Tammy, we don't have crystal balls to say what's going to cause market turmoil. But when we do the planning, we tell our clients there is going to be turmoil in the markets. We don't know why. We don't know when it's going to happen. But when it does happen, we have a plan to go back to, right? We know what we're trying to accomplish, and we're going to get through it. As temporary and as uncomfortable as it feels right now, we are working our way through this, and sticking to the long view and staying focused on what our goals are is what's going to help us succeed, even when it's really, really uncomfortable, like we're experiencing right now and like we've experienced in the past. So it's staying the course. As hard as it is and uncomfortable as it is, it really is staying the course.
Absolutely. Well, that's great, guys. I mean, so if I think back of a few of the things that we talked about today, we talked today about setting up and adopting, whether that's buckets or a sequence of savings and investing, putting money in emergency funds, putting as much money, Tammy, as you said, as you possibly can into the accounts during times like this, because it's the most beneficial. We talked about the counsel that we give to our clients about taking a look at a little bit more of the long term and planning for perhaps a longer life expectancy, a longer runway. One of those questions that I know, Tammy, I've talked to you about, and certainly Jim, about what clients come up with during times like these is, well, geez, should I be a little bit more conservative given everything that's going on? And immediately we go to, well, look, even if you're in retirement, there's a long period, to supply income for you and your family, not to mention what Jim brought up, the legacy goals that you have as a person, as a family. So that's very strong also. And then we talked about, the roller coaster analogy that I think is really applicable, Tammy, that you brought up, is that nobody that I know really likes the uncertainty and the market's reaction in the moment. But successful investors, as you guys both put, know what it takes to navigate. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to do nothing. Oftentimes the hardest thing to do is to do nothing. So 3 really great points you brought up today in a discussion. Really enjoyed discussing it with you today. Any parting words from either of you before we sign off here today?
So if anybody's looking and wondering where Traverse City, Michigan is, because that's what I get a lot of questions on, I keep referring to it as the Cape Cod of Michigan, but with fresh water. And it might be one of the most beautiful places in the US.
Jim, don't tell anybody about it.
That's true too.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Yeah, we're hoping for some sunshine. I know my northern Michigan friends out there are sick of the gray days, so hopefully we get some sunshine and warm weather soon. It's great to be with all of you.
From what I understand, just experienced some really, in some parts, some devastating ice storms. So just to let everybody know that's listening from that area of the world, that we're thinking about you, and as you're going through this this time, and looking forward to getting back out there soon. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tammy, for coming on. It was so great to have a few minutes to talk to you today. Jim as well. And as always, tune in to the NoBondsCast live. We do them every other Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. We also send the recording out via email to everybody that's a client or on an email list. And lastly, as you have questions, if you're listening, whether it's the live version here or the recorded version, send in your questions to social@beckbode.com. We love to address any and all questions that you have as investors, as you're thinking about where the world is today, or where your finances are today. We want to be a great resource for you. So until next time, thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Jim. Looking forward to seeing everybody a few weeks from now with our next guest. Take care, everybody.
Bye.